SpongeBob is having a jellyfish party. He invited Patrick, Sandy, Squidward, Mr. Krabs, and Plankton. Assume each guest arrives one at a time. Please read these carefully. If I ask how many ways, I'm asking for a number. Just an integer. If I'm asking for a probability, I'm asking for a fraction, a decimal, or a percent. Fraction is the most common. So again, please be careful. Fraction, decimal, or percent. So part A, how many ways can the guests arrive? Okay, let's draw 5 lines. Since each guest is arriving one at a time, how many guests could arrive first? 5. Any of those 5 could arrive first. How many guests are left to arrive second? And third? Keep going. So we need the first guest to arrive, and the second guest, and the third guest, and the fourth, and the fifth, which is 120. There's another way we could have done this. We have distinct objects here, correct? Does order matter? Yeah. The first guest and the second guest, if those 2 people switched, then the order in which they came is different. So you could also say this is a permutation of 5 people taken 5 at a time, which is also 120. Okay. B. How many ways can Sandy arrive first and Squidward last? Okay, now that A is out of the way, you want to approach B the same way we approached A. Probably draw 5 lines. Any takers? Well, so if Sandy has to arrive first, how many ways could that happen? Once. There's only one way Sandy can come first, it's just that she's first. And if Squidward has to come last, how many ways could that happen? Once. So those 2 spots are taken care of. Those are predetermined. So how many people could come second? 3, because there's 3 people left. How many people can come third? And how many people can come fourth? So Sandy must be first, and any of the remaining 3 can be second, and third guest, and fourth guest, and fifth guest. How many do we have total? 6. Well, you'd have to take out the ones, the 1 and the 1 on the end. So this part in the center here is permutation 3, 3. Because the ones are predetermined. The ones at the end, I should say. Right, because those aren't going to move around. Mm-hmm. Not to say there's not another way, but that's probably the nicest way. C. C and B are related. B was the number of ways Sandy is first and Squidward is last. C is the probability that Sandy is first and Squidward is last. Well, probability is part over whole. How many ways can Sandy arrive first and Squidward last? 6 over how many total ways can the guests arrive? 120. Which is what, 1/20th? So notice this was a cookbook problem. We got ready for part C because we did parts A and B. Now sometimes they might set you up for that, where they build up to the answer. Or, part D, they might just jump right to the probability. If they jump right to the probability, you want to think about the part over the whole. So D, what is the probability that Sandy arrives before Squidward? So a couple things to think about here. The numerator is going to represent the number of ways Sandy arrives before Squidward. The denominator is going to represent what? Total ways people arrive. So the denominator is not going to be any different. It's still going to be 120. So the fun part's the numerator. So I want you to think about the number of ways Sandy arrives before Squidward. Well, Sandy's a girl.
Sorry.
I've never heard that phrase before. At least watch, it's decent. It's formulaic. That's okay. Number of ways Sandy is before Squidward. What could it possibly be? So we had a guess of 5, 6. I heard a 4 in there. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to put pi. And I'm also going to write 10. It's not pi. Everyone likes pi. All right. So here's our 5 guesses. If Sandy came first, how many ways would she beat Squidward? In other words, how many ways could Squidward arrive? Yeah, well, 2 through 5. So Squidward could come here, 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 or here. And in those 4 scenarios, Sandy would be coming before Squidward. So it would be 4 here. Now, what if Sandy was here? How many ways would she become before Squidward? 3. If Sandy was here? Sandy was here? Sandy was here? What do we do with these numbers? That'd give it a 0, though. Remember, multiplication is when what word is implied? And. So if you are saying and, that means Sandy is arriving first and second and third and fourth and fifth. Well, unless Sandy has clones, that's not going to happen. So we're not going to be multiplying these numbers. What are we doing here? Add them, because what word implies addition? Or, because Sandy could arrive first or second or third or fourth or fifth. We don't want Sandy to arrive fifth, because if she does, then she won't beat Squidward. But that's why we have a 0 there. What is 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 0? 10. So there's 10 ways Sandy can arrive before Squidward. Over, how many total ways could they arrive? 120. And that reduces down to 1/12.